Hey everyone, welcome to cs4everyone.com. In this video, we're just going to do a little bit of review. We're not going to learn anything else. We're just going to review what we've learned. We're going to slow things down a bit and just kind of go over what we've learned so far. So the very first thing we've learned is that you can create variables. So to create a variable, you type var, and then you put your variable name, and then you put your variable value. So, quick quiz, what data type is this variable? It is a, drumroll, a string. This is a string because it is surrounded by quotation marks. What data type is this variable? This is a number. Yay, hopefully you got that right. So we are aware that we can create variables, and we can do things to these variables. We can print them. We can do math on them. In fact, let's rename this to my num variable, just so it's quicker and easier to type. So we can print the values of variables. If it's a number data type, as this one is, you can add to it, you can subtract, you can multiply, you can divide, blah, blah, blah. So this will print 10 because 5 plus 5 is 10. Who'd have thought? Pretty simple stuff. So we've learned variables. We've learned the operations you can perform on those variables depending on their data types. What happens when you use a plus sign with strings? What does that do? So if I have console.log hello plus Robert, what will this print? It will print hello Robert, because that is what happens when you put a plus sign in between two strings. That is called string concatenation. Concatenation. With the rainbows right here, like on the Spingbab episode. Spingbab SquarePants. We can do string concatenation, and now we can do if statements to control what part of our code gets run as opposed to other parts. So let's make a variable var, let's see, num equals 10, and then we can do if num is less than 15, and this is a new syntax. You haven't seen this before. You've only seen the equal sign. You can do less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, etc. So if num is less than 15, we will print num is less than 15. Who would have thought? Else, so if it's not the case that num is less than 15, it must be the case that num is greater than or equal to 15. So let's go ahead and run this. Num is less than 15. Let's go ahead and change the value of num. Put it to 15. Num is greater than or equal to 15. Let's change it to 150. Should still print the same thing. Boom. Num is greater than or equal to 15. That's that. We've learned about the if-else construct, so you can check multiple values. Say we want the num to be between certain ranges. So we can do if num is less than 15 and greater than 1, and num is greater than 1. Like I said, you're going to make those mistakes where you forget to re-put your variable. That was in the last video. We will console.log num is between 15 and 1. And this is just, I'm going to switch where these are because that's just a little bit weird to have them have the less than first. We should have the greater than first and then have, so there's our cutoff there. And then we can do else if num is greater than or equal to 15 and num is less than 25, num is between 1 and 15 right here. Num is between 15 and 25. And then else, and this is where all other cases go, num is greater than or equal to 25. That's that. So right now it's 150. It will print greater than or equal to 125. Boom. Let's change it to 17. It will print this one. Between 15 and 25. Pretty simple stuff. And then 6 will print the first one. Num is between 1 and 15, as expected. Nothing crazy there. We've also learned about putting ors and ands inside of if statements, but we'll get back to that later. That's one of those things that it's just going to come to you naturally. So if anything is confusing to you right now, that's totally fine. Like, I realize I'm not really going at an extremely slow pace here. I just want to knock out all of the, don't want to say boring stuff, but I want to knock out all the basics, we're simply filling up your toolbox with tools right now. We learned that a couple videos ago, we learned that you can, in fact, find out if a number is even or odd simply using the modulo tool, the modulo operator. That's a tool, and it's been added to your toolbox. That problem, finding out if a number is even or odd, that's a nail. The modulo operator is a hammer, and using that tool, you could solve that problem and, you know, have an elegant solution that properly solved the problem for every case. So even if you feel a little bit confused or lost, don't worry, that's okay. This is the kind of stuff that's just going to come to you over time. You don't necessarily need to be able to code this stuff up instantly on the fly. That will come naturally. Section 2, we're going to jump into the really fun stuff. That's where we're going to jump into the data structures and the algorithms that you will be using in your day-to-day life as a programmer. But for now, Chapter 1 is just all about getting these tools in your toolbox. Chapter 2 is all about applying those tools. So that's where stuff's going to get fun. And that's where you're really going to hammer down. I shouldn't say hammer down because I just used the hammer analogy. But Chapter 2 is where you're really going to have these things that we've learned stick. We're really going to apply all of these tools that we are learning, like ifs and else ifs and blah, blah, blah. I mean, after this, it's honestly, we're just going to learn about looping and then a data structure called arrays. And that's it. Then it's straight into, we're going to do a little bit of problem solving using these tools, and then it's straight into Section 2, which is data structures and algorithms. And that's where things get really fun. That's where you'll really get to see the point of all of this. So it's okay if you feel a little confused right now. That's totally fine. It doesn't really matter. You'll get it. It hasn't been that long. This is like the 8th video. That's maybe like an hour and a half, I think, of content at most. So, I mean, you're not supposed to... you're not supposed to have all this memorized. Just as long as you understand it and how it works for the most part. If you grasp 80% of what I'm doing in these videos, you're good to go. Just keep sticking with it. Don't give up. You'll learn this stuff. So in the next video, we will be covering looping. See y'all later.